Part 77. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 761. Looking at the scene in front of him, Yebai fell into silence. Along with the changes in the Eternal Tower, Yebai and the child were also kicked out. The child yawned. "Brother, shall we go back now?" He was trapped in the dream space, and apart from the madman, only Baiju played with him. Therefore, children often travel in the long river of time and have seen the scenes in front of them many times. Certainly. This was the first time the child had seen the situation inside the Eternal Tower. In the past, the tower spirit would not open the door for him. Go back. As an expert at fixing bugs, Yebai's bug-fixing instinct was awakened at this moment. He immediately asked, "Is it possible not to go back?" "Yes." The child asked, "Of course." "Brother, are you afraid of death?" "Yebai." "If you say you are not afraid, you are definitely lying. It's a bit embarrassing to say that you are afraid of death in front of children." Yebai, who has always been quick-witted, replied seriously. "Big brother has many people who need to be alive to protect him." "Fear death?" "No. To protect more people and survive?" "Okay. In terms of emotional intelligence, it still depends on you." The child seemed to understand, and explained to Yebai. "Big brother, because you are relatively weak, it will be more difficult to walk in the long river of time. I want to return to the dream space." The child explained it, and Yebai probably understood. Children can help him pay for the long hours of walking. But Yebai must stick to himself and not get lost in the long river of time, otherwise he will completely fall or become a madman. Certainly. Yebai doesn't have to worry too much after he is lost. His second brother will definitely bring Baiju to rescue him. As for whether the rescue method is aggressive or not, it's hard to say. If possible, stay as close to the Eternal Tower as possible and use it as an anchor point. It will be easier. The child told Yebai all the precautions, but he was still a little worried and reluctant to leave. "What a wonderful boy." Yebai stood under the Eternal Tower and sighed. "Can one punch kill 10 of your children?" Ignoring Danian's sarcasm, Yebai looked at the river of time in front of him with a serious expression. He knew that this was a hard journey, one that he had to endure. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, Yebai stayed in the long river of time for a full 28 years. In the past 28 years, he witnessed the opening of the Eternal Tower, the prosperity of the human race, the sudden invasion of the abyss, and Xueju led a group of strong men to kick off the bloody battle. Without Xueju, the human race would most likely have surrendered under the first wave of the abyss offensive. Yebai also watched Xueju enter the abyss of power. No matter when he recalled that shocking battle, it would make people tremble with fear and make their hearts surge. After Xueju died in the battle, the human race and the demon race once again entered a tug-of-war mode. At first, the demons were not sure whether the nightmare had died in the battle. They only knew that a terrifying battle took place in the abyss of the strongest, but they did not know the outcome of that battle. And Yingju, who escaped from the abyss of the strongest, now possesses talent and possesses almost the strongest combat power. Pretending to be the strongest, Yingju has figured it out. From time to time, he would carry a 40-meter-long knife and chase the demon into the abyss, majestically. He was so frightened that the demon gods didn't take action for nearly 10 years. Of course, there are also problems within the abyss. The great demon god opened the supreme abyss, causing huge losses to himself. At that time, the second demon god was sleeping and showing off. The fifth demon god is not crazy yet, and the monsters under his control are very restrained. The few demon gods who could take the lead among the demon clan were unable to come forward, so the demon clan was naturally in disarray. Until the big demon's injuries healed, the fifth demon gradually went crazy, and the second demon disappeared. The demon gods of the abyss are starting to move. The real trump card of the human race is the semi-wasted Yingju. At that time, Yingju had already prepared for the worst. Ye Bai listened with his own ears as Yingju told Mr. Lan that his plan was as follows. If Xuemeng cannot awaken the SSS level talent, I will first force Zhang Xiaoyao to awaken the talent with a knife, then go to the first abyss to find the great demon god in exchange for his life, force the supreme abyss to appear, and then let Zhang Xiaoyao clean up the mess. Ye Bai. All I can say is, Mr. Zhu, you are worthy of being the one. When it comes to cheating apprentices, Master Zhu is really good at it. Of course, at this time, Zhang Xiaoyao was not Yingju's apprentice. Just when Yingju was about to use a heavy punch on Zhang Xiaoyao, a little accident happened. A hot-tempered young man named Wu Heng awakened his talent. I seem to know the effect of my talent. Wu Heng, who had just awakened his talent, looked at the place where there was no one around him and said to himself. My talent, can I see ghosts? Ye Bai. He walked along the long river of time for more than 20 years, from 100 years ago to 72 years ago, which was when the second brother Wu Heng awakened. During this period, Ye Bai could only be a spectator, silently watching the bloody battle for 30 years. Ye Bai couldn't provide any help, couldn't interact with anyone, and could only be a spectator. This feeling is not pleasant. However, fortunately, Ye Bai knew that most people were still alive. No matter in what form, there was at least a glimmer of hope. Even if it is a nightmare, there is still the possibility of resurrection after death. Only the nightmare after becoming the god of war seems to be able to detect Ye Bai. However, Nightmare was a little wary of Ye Bai's existence and had never taken the initiative to communicate with him. If Ye Bai wants to leave something on his tombstone after his death, he might be one of them if he was once feared by nightmares. Wu Heng, who had awakened his talent, looked thoughtfully at the strange shadow in front of him. Soon, the irritable Wu Heng came to a reasonable conclusion, his eyes lit up, and he said eagerly. If I kill the ghost, can I get a reward? Ye Bai. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 762. Are you going to explode gold coins? Ye Bai never expected that when his second brother saw the ghost, his first reaction would be to spawn monsters. Anyone who has read 2 online articles will know that a being like Ye Bai is the grandfather in the ring, a golden finger from the sky that can be used for upgrading. As a result, the second brother came up and started shouting about beating and killing, which almost scared Ye Bai into changing his pants. Please, read 2 online novels, they will come in handy when you are the protagonist. Look at the eldest brother Xueju, he is very knowledgeable and knows what a leading character is like. Ye Bai tried to talk to the other party, but found that Wu Heng didn't respond at all. The witty Ye Bai reacted immediately. Because the second brother is too weak so he can't talk to me. Ha 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 ha, second brother, you have today too. Ye Bai's expression at this moment was particularly villainous. Wu Heng couldn't even chat, let alone chop Ye Bai. Ye Bai simply followed Wu Heng and watched his second brother's invincible growth. Break into the tower, obtain the heavenly king sword in the eternal forest, destroy the demon cult branch alone, and use your body as bait to trap and kill the demon cult leader. As a live broadcast viewer, Ye Bai kept deducting 666, without any trace, from the host. This living creature looks like a powerful seed. Look at the 4th generation, what it is all about. Wait, Ye Bai feels something is not right. You humiliated yourself, it has nothing to do with me. Until one day, Ye Bai's peaceful life was broken. Wu Heng slipped away into the abyss. Looking at the abyss in front of him, Ye Bai hesitated for a moment. Wu Heng slipped away, and it would be very risky for Ye Bai to follow him. Friendly reminder, without Yingju's company, the survival rate of Wilhelm entering the abyss is 0.058%. Yabai. The war on the front line is tense, and Yingju must rush to the battlefield. Wilhelm sneaks into the abyss with a simple plan. As long as the most powerful seed appears in the abyss, the devil will definitely give up the front and fight back to the abyss. This plan is perfect. There is only one small problem: Wilhelm is afraid that it will be difficult to come back alive. Although I knew that nothing would happen to my second brother. Yabai thought for a while, then gritted his teeth and followed. In the abyss, Wilhelm, who had just finished a hard battle, looked at the ghost in front of him with an extremely solemn expression. This guy is here again. From the moment he awakened his talent, this ghost lingered. Every time he interacts with a ghost, Wilhelm will forget the memory afterwards, but the pressure the other party gives him is indeed real. Moreover, as Wilhelm's strength increased, the ghost shadow became clearer, and Wilhelm's understanding of the ghost shadow's strength became clearer. Very strong. At this time, Wilhelm was not yet at level 600, and even had a brilliant record of killing a 9th level war god with a sword. The powerful enemy lying at his feet is the 9th level god of war. Even so, Wilhelm could still smell the dangerous aura from the ghost. This enemy must be fun to kill. However, Wilhelm never told Yingju about the ghost shadow. From Wilhelm's point of view, you should do your own thing. Brush your own wild monsters yourself. Dreams come true in Yingju's hand, use it once, and lose it once. During this period, the demons increased their offensive intensity, turning the front-line battlefield into a meat grinder, constantly devouring human lives. In order to create the shadow and resist the attack of the devil, Yingju consumed too much. At this time, he was unable to do anything, and sometimes even had to leave Wilhelm's side. This gave Wilhelm the opportunity to sneak into the abyss. Seeing Wilhelm break through again in the abyss, Yebai's figure became clearer. I can finally speak. Just as Yebaigong was about to say hello, the vision reappeared. The Heavenly King's sword on his body was shaking uncontrollably. If it was just Yebai's Heavenly King's sword shaking, then it wouldn't be a big problem. Wilhelm's Heavenly King's sword is also shaking. The Heavenly King's sword is so excited. Is the other party about to take action? No trace, as if facing a powerful enemy. Be ready. From the day he awakened his talent, this ghost has been lingering. Now, seeing himself breaking through, he couldn't hold back and finally took action. It doesn't matter, Wilhelm has never been afraid of anything in his life. Cut him. Wilhelm knew very well that this level of competition was far from a small fight with the 9th level god of war, where a move could mean the difference between life and death. The first move is the last move. This sword. Wilhelm, who was pushed to the limit by the ghost, felt unprecedented pressure. If you don't explode under pressure, you will perish under pressure. Obviously, Wilhelm is the former. He's about to explode. Close your eyes, open your eyes. In the blink of an eye, Wilhelm slightly strengthened the sword he had learned at level 100. This sword was originally not so strong. After strengthening it, it becomes very strong. A sword light flashed. This sword light was very familiar to Yebai, and also very unlucky. By some strange coincidence, he even used the same sword move at the same time. Two swordsmen, one in white and one in black, wielded the Heavenly King's sword at the same time, using the same moves. They even called out the name of the sword at the same time just to be cool. Just listen to the two people shouting in unison. Turning the sky. Above the river of time, watching two swordsmen, one black and one white, fighting, Wilhelm nodded slightly. It turns out that this kid was causing trouble back then. Yebai walked in the long river of time. Wilhelm knew about this. He didn't object to Yebai exercising like this. As for whether there are risks in this matter, this kid Yebai deserves to be trained by taking risks. Even so. But After Yabai entered the abyss from the river of time, Wilhan still came over to take a look. Seeing the scene in front of him, Wilhan suddenly remembered something. Beiju followed him upstream and came to a while ago. This time point was when Wu Honggang awakened his talent and saw the ghost for the first time preparing to slash two swords to explode the gold coins. Yabai tried to communicate with Wu Hong, but failed because Wu Hong was too weak. Yabai burst out laughing when the villain succeeded. Ha ha ha, second brother, you have today too. The smile on Wu Han's face slowly disappeared. Murderous aura surged into my heart. He had a bold idea. If I kill Shurad twice with my sword here, no one will know about it. Baiju felt murderous and was a little confused. Are you going to kill the strongest seeds? Thousands of miles away. In this world. Eternal forest. Death monument. The monument seemed to feel something and shook slightly. A butterfly landed on the monument of death, and the movement of the monument stopped. The sword fell silent. Since the past few days, the shadows responsible for guarding the eternal forest have fallen into a deep sleep. No one outside the world knows what happens in the eternal forest. A faint figure, with white clouds above his head, is walking in the eternal forest. He looks middle-aged and has a sad face. I don't know how long this remnant soul can last. Nightmare sighed, looked around with a sad look on his face, and sighed again. I don't know how long Xiaoao can last. In every corner of the forest, there are colorful butterflies flying like an ocean. More butterflies continue to fly out from the 99th floor of the Eternal Tower and land in this forest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 763. Nanjiang City. Library. Qingfeng is illiterate and flips through books randomly. Su Qingfeng, who had a towering head above his head, was about to cry but had no tears, and followed the Taoist. As for the culprit, second Master Ying, he was currently crawling on the ceiling. According to common sense, a normal ordinary person cannot climb on the ceiling. Fortunately, second Master Ying is crazy and doesn't need to act like a normal person. This logic seems a bit wrong at first glance. After careful consideration, I found that there was more than one problem. The Taoist walked from one end of the library to the other. The breeze stopped. All the books suspended in the air slowly fell back to their original places, as if nothing happened. Xiaoao shook his head. Boring. There are only two kinds of things written in the book. One kind that Xiaoao already knew. The other one is wrong. In other words, reading is boring for Xiaoao. Xiaoao felt it was a bit of a waste to spend time on such things. The Taoist walked out of the library, followed closely by Su Qingfeng. Second Master Ying is still crawling in the air, as if there is a wall of air that he can cling to. Su Qingfeng covered his head and said helplessly. I said, Second Master, don't climb so high, be careful of falling. Ying Er raised his head, glanced at Su Qingfeng, and screamed strangely. Uncle San. The world is upside down. Why are you all walking on the ground? The Taoist, who was not in a good mood, raised his hand slightly, pulled Ying Er back to the original position, and straightened himself. The second Master Ying, who had his feet on the ground again, still did not let his IQ take over the high ground. It's not the world that's turned upside down, it's you that's turned upside down. After the Taoist finished speaking, he was stunned, and his expression changed for the first time. He froze in place and thought of another question. Maybe it's not that the world is boring, but that, I am boring? I am boring, so nothing I watch is boring. Makes sense. The Taoist standing there frowned slightly, seeming to be caught in a fierce ideological conflict. While the Taoist was thinking, a butterfly appeared in front of him out of thin air. 1, 2, 3. More and more butterflies appeared, flying around the Taoist, and the scene got out of control for a while. Su Qingfeng didn't care about the injury on his head, and quickly pulled Master Ying and asked, "What's going on?" "I don't know, I'm crazy, you ask me what to do." Second Master Ying said, while cautiously backing away. With a sad face, he said in two voices at the same time, "Invite fourth master back quickly. This is no longer out of control, Shura must be dispatched. Use Shura on Xiaoyao." Just when the two were at a loss what to do, a horse suddenly appeared behind them. Xuemeng raised his head, took a mouthful of leaves, and asked casually, "Old stranger, what's going on?" Second Master Ying screamed strangely again. "Yaoshao, the horse has become a spirit." Although Ma Jing is Xuemeng. After knowing that the other party was Xuemeng, Second Master Ying felt relieved. Su Qingfeng briefly introduced the situation. He had forgotten before that there were many special 9th-level war gods in the human race. For example, the shame of the 9th-level god of war Su Qingfeng. Another example, Xuemeng, the supreme glory of the 9th-level god of war. What Su Qingfeng can do, Xuemeng can usually do. Will you lose control if you get close to Xiaoyao? It doesn't matter. Xuemeng switched to the fierce horse form and was still able to fully control himself. After Ying Yi recognized the other party's identity, he shouted familiarly, "Brother, what should we do next?" "Big brother?" Xuemeng didn't switch over for a while. "Who is your big brother?" Ying Er speaks eloquently. "Xiaoyao is my third uncle and your future third father. I am only 8 years old this year. In terms of seniority, you are older than me, so you must be my eldest brother. This is all a mess." Xuemeng looked at the vision in front of him, his face a little solemn. "I just came back from the Eternal Forest. My adoptive father said nothing will happen for the time being and let us just let nature take its course." With Nightmare's words, everyone's hearts dropped slightly. However, I am afraid that the current impasse will have to wait until Shura comes back before there is a solution. 3 people and 1 horse lined up in a row, sitting on the steps, just watching Xiaoyao quietly. At the same time, in the long river of time, Ye Bai had just finished Wuhan's fight. The two sides fought for a while, but neither could hit the other. If they want to fight across the long river of time, neither Ye Bai nor Wuhan can do it. Ye Bai breathed a sigh of relief. "I was so scared that I almost thought I couldn't go back." Sheathing the sword, Ye Bai nodded slightly and said in a deep voice, "On a certain day of a certain year, a certain month, my second brother Wuhan and I fought against each other. We were indistinguishable until the point was reached, and we agreed to fight another day. You really make yourself proud." "Oh." A familiar voice came from above Ye Bai. "You know who's coming?" Without looking up, the most powerful Wuhan looked at Shura and seriously suggested, "Don't change it to another day, just today." "Ye Bai. It's over, I really can't go back this time. I'm going to have 2 drinks tonight. If you enjoy drinking it, add more for everyone to add to the fun. If you drink too much, I will add more for everyone tomorrow to cheer up. Online games, only I can see hidden information." Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 764. An ordinary person would probably be embarrassed if he was caught with a black history. Fortunately, Ye Bai is not an ordinary person. In other words, under normal circumstances, others did not regard him as a human being. Ye Baidian greeted shamelessly. "Good morning, second brother. Are you taking a walk?" Wuhan snorted coldly, ignored Ye Bai, and took a step forward. "Do you think the passage of time is fun?" The moment Wuhan took this step, everything changed. The originally gray sky suddenly became dark. The long river of time began to become turbid, and a huge yin and yang pattern appeared in the sky, slowly falling downwards. Ye Bai's expression was condensed, not knowing what the second brother was going to do. I let you travel for a long time so that you can adapt to this feeling. Wilhen ignored Ye Bai's reaction and said to himself. When fighting the most powerful demon, the opponent has the ability to manipulate time. Nightmare has suffered a loss in this matter, otherwise, the most powerful demon will be weaker. It was my first time to fight the nightmare of the boss alone, and there was no strategy available. Even if Nightmare knows that the most powerful demon can change time, there is no good way to deal with it. When I arrived at Wuhan, I didn't have such worries. Like to play in the long river of time? I'll have enough fun with you. As for Xiaoao, he hasn't defeated the boss yet, so he doesn't need to think about it for now. Moreover, with Xiaoao's ability, no one doubts that Xiaoao will have any surprises if he single plays the strongest demon god. He will only achieve brilliant enough results to deserve the title of the most powerful. Everyone was worried about whether Xiaoao could survive. Nightmare is dead. Wilhen was seriously injured and on the verge of death. If you think about it on the bright side, the efforts of generations of the strongest human beings have paid off. According to this logic, Xiaoao might not have to die. But the most powerful demon god is not very logical. In fact, the real combat power of the most powerful demon that Wilhen faced was even stronger than what Nightmare had faced back then. Xiaoao is about to face the most powerful demon god, and his true combat power will reach a higher level. There are fewer and fewer competitors in that huge consciousness. This means that the level at which the most powerful demon god can exert its own strength is getting higher and higher. The strong men of the human race are not only worried about whether Xiaoao can survive, but also whether Shura can defeat the stronger demon god. External troubles and internal troubles belong to this category. Ye Bai also understands this truth. During this period, in the long river of time, Ye Bai did not let go of his own practice. Even if a child pays the price for Ye Bai. Traveling through time is not an easy task. Ye Bai was able to stand firm in his heart and go through more than 20 years, which has exceeded the child's expectations. If Ye Bai hadn't followed Wilhen into the abyss and walked for 100 years in one breath, it wouldn't have been a big problem. Your practice in the long river of time. Wilhen originally planned to say that Ye Bai practiced very well. When the words come to my mouth, it automatically switches to. It's far worse than I was back then. In Wilhen's heart, this means the same thing. The performance is indeed good, but compared with Wutai, that's not even close. Ye Bai. Can you stop being so forceful? A few words of praise will kill you, right? Ye Bai also hopes to have a few more words of honor on his tombstone. After a long period of training, you are indeed good enough. Wilhen nodded. Now there is a mission that requires you to run. Ye Bai said nothing. It's not that he doesn't want to go. Ye Bai knew very well that Wilhen would never ask for the other person's opinion. Whether it's a patient, an enemy, a teammate. Wilhen's tone was always a commanding one. As soon as Wilhen finished speaking, the white horse behind him began to run forward. It was originally only one step away from Wilhen, but now it was running at full speed, but the distance between the two sides did not shorten at all, as if they were standing still. Baiju ran faster and faster, and his body gradually became sweaty. Its sweat is red. It's still a bloody BMW. The white horse turned into red lightning in front of Ye Bai. This light fell into Wilhen's hands and turned into a sharp sword. After acquiring the crimson sword, Wilhen's whole temperament changed. Violent, unbridled, powerful, strongest. Ye Bai felt this coercion, his whole body sank, his teeth clenched, and his temples bulged. Even with his current strength, it would be difficult to stay so close to Wilhen. You know, Ye Bai is already infinitely close to the quasi-powerful existence. His strength is definitely not comparable to that of Yebai, who was greedy for life and afraid of death. Now even if the fifth demon god goes all out, he can't kill Yebai. Such a powerful Yebai, in the face of this coercion, was like a lonely boat in the storm, weak, helpless, and trembling. The swordsman in white who was holding the sword raised his hand and flicked the sword lightly. It's like a tiger roaring in the mountains and a dragon flying in the sky. Yebai's ears were in pain and blood was oozing out. The huge tinnitus almost deprived him of his hearing. Wilhelm's 2 fingers brushed the sword body, and the dragon's roar slowly dissipated. Wilhelm, the strongest man holding the sword, looked at the river of time in front of him and said casually, "Today, I will show you the true style of the strongest." I looked at this as a bit drunk, so I said goodbye. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 765. His. Looking at his second brother holding the sword, Yebai only had 4 words in his heart. So scary. Standing on the long river of time, holding a long sword, Wilhelm is full of high spirits. But Yebai still has a small problem. That, second brother. Yebai asked curiously. Who should we fight? When fighting, there must be a goal. If he were to cut himself, Yebai was frightened at first, but he quickly realized that he was definitely not cutting himself. How could he be so weak and worthy of Wilhelm's full strength? In other words, Wilhelm, who wields his sword with all his strength, if he targets Shura, who has not yet become the strongest, his life will be worth it. It was precisely because he wanted to understand this that Yebai felt relieved. Wilhelm's sword intent continues to rise, and his momentum is still increasing. He replied casually, "I will cut through the river of time with a sword and send you to a time. You need to see clearly what happened at that time." Yebai. Second brother, your explanation seems to be the same as no explanation at all. Before Yebai could ask more questions, Wilhelm spoke again. "I will send you back to the moment when the Eternal Tower was built. You only have 5 seconds. Yebai raised his spirits, the time it took for the Eternal Tower to be built. Is there anything special about this time? Wilhelm put so much effort into sending himself to that time point. What did he want him to see? Yebai was also a little nervous for a while. Look clearly. Wilhelm said seriously. See clearly how Xiaoao came to be. Yebai's eyes lit up and he instantly understood his second brother's intention. According to Xiaoao, after Shura first appeared in the world, the human race has always had a theory. The human race protects Shura. In fact, this is how the human race treats every generation of the most powerful seeds and every generation of the most powerful people. When the abyss of power opened, Xueju prepared to go to war. Huo Tianwang, Lan Bangxian, Zhao Qian, and other powerful men joined forces and even called 2 demon gods to stop the nightmare. However, they couldn't stop the nightmare. At that time, no one could have imagined that Wilhelm would go directly to the abyss to start a decisive battle. Those who are violent and strong belong to Yes. The human race protects the path of the most powerful seeds. The same is true for Xiaoao. Isn't Xiaoao confused? Just go and see it. Wilhelm looked at it but couldn't see clearly. He has the power to get through, but he has no power to get the answer. Xiaoao is too strong, and Wilhelm cannot send such a strong man to the other end of the river of time. Yebai, who has always been known as the shame of the strongest, actually, has this ability. Moreover, Yebai's weakness was just right. Wilhelm was able to send Yebai there at a very small cost, and use Yebai's eyes to find out the truth. After speaking, Wilhelm's silence became longer this time. Obviously, in the state of the last tension, without a complete mark of the strongest, Wilhelm had some difficulty in returning to his peak combat power. The most important thing is that if he were a little stronger, the most powerful demon god from beyond the river of time would take action immediately. The most powerful demon god will never allow Wuhan to return to the top. In that case, with Wuhan and Xiaoao, the most powerful demon will be severely injured even if he doesn't open the table. Wuhan thoughtfully reminded. See with one eye. Ye Bai followed the instructions, closed his left eye, and asked, why? Wuhan replied casually. Probably going blind. Ye Bai. Help. Killing eyes. Help. Ye Bai quickly opened his left eye and closed his right eye. Is there any difference? Ye Bai was too lazy to talk nonsense with Tan Yan. If both eyes are open, doesn't it mean that both eyes are blind? Stupid eyes. What you said makes sense. Tan Yan calmed down. Dan Yan also knows very well that if this thing fails, he will fail too. Only by solving the problem of Xiaoao can we move forward. Who would have thought that the key to solving the problem would be Shura? Unexpected belongs to yes. Even though he knew he might be blind, Ye Bai didn't have too many worries at the moment. He won't die. What he was more worried about was that he failed to pass, or that after passing, he failed to see clearly what was going on. He took a few deep breaths and adjusted himself. Ye Bai couldn't let such a crucial matter slip up to him. A reminder appears above the butterfly's head. Ye Bai's heart twitched suddenly, and the severe pain almost made him faint. Ye Bai Gong wanted to say, the second brother can start. Just when Ye Bai was about to faint, he saw the last scene. Upper realm source of the world. A red horse led Ye Bai upstream in the long river of time, breaking through countless scenes. Before Ye Bai's eyes completely fell into darkness, he finally caught up. Ye Bai grinned with disdain. Obviously, Wuhan can only do this kind of attempt once. The prompt on the top of the butterfly's head has two more words. He is truly connected to the source of the world. The strong white light was right in front of Ye Bai's eyes, making it impossible to see anything clearly. 1. Ye Bai's heart skipped a beat. What Xiaoao had been thinking was true. A reminder popped up in Ye Bai's bloodshot left eye. This is an impossible task. A red light flashed past Ye Bai's eyes. His tightly closed right eye opened. 2. Even if the eye of insight goes all out, it still takes 8 seconds to see the scene in front of you clearly. Come to, the moment when the eternal tower is cast. He only has 5 seconds. This was the first time he clearly saw Wuhan with his sword fully drawn. Even so, Ye Bai opened his eyes wide, wanting to see clearly what was happening in front of him, and wanting to understand how Xiaoao came to be. 4. I have 2 eyes. Ye Bai saw, in the bright light, a Taoist sitting on the butterfly. 3. It takes 8 seconds. Then all your efforts will be wasted. Boom. Source of the world. You're dumbfounded. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 766. Pain. This time, Tranquil Eyes couldn't even cry. The light in front of Ye Bai's eyes was taken away, but the last scene was deeply imprinted in his mind. The butterfly of happy dream is indeed the source of the world. But what Ye Bai and the others thought were different. This is the source of the upper world. Thinking of the mysterious powerhouse eternity, all the clues in Ye Bai's mind pieced together a rough truth. Eternity does not come from this world, but from the upper world. It is precisely for this reason that eternity possesses eternal origin and has the genius idea of building an eternal tower. From the beginning, eternity was not about surviving the catastrophe of annihilation. He wants to go home. As a result, I couldn't go home, but instead caused harm to the origin of the world in the upper world. What is this thing called? The general idea is this. As for the specific incident, Yabai can only learn more details by asking the person involved. But Yabai felt that his guess was quite accurate. Although he couldn't see anything, Yabai could feel that he was being pulled back. Falling on the long river of time, the first sentence Yabai opened his mouth was, "Brother, am I not disfigured?" Wilhen. Yabai's eyes are gray and he may be unable to see for the time being. As for whether he will be able to recover in the future, it's hard to say. At least here at the head Dr. Wilhen, everything is fine until the person dies. Looking at Yabai who was not disfigured, Wilhen felt that this appearance could be disfigured. He subconsciously touched his sword, but came up empty. Feeling the murderous aura, Yabai felt like he was facing a powerful enemy and did not forget to give a warning. "Brother, there may be an enemy coming. There is such a strong murderous aura." After getting along for a long time, this brother's name became more and more smooth. Wilhen said helplessly, "How did it get like this?" Wilhen had warned him in advance that if Yabai looked directly at the picture for too long, he might not be able to withstand the pressure, and the worst result would be blindness. Originally, Wilhen was ready to sign for Pirate Edition Shura. It's better now, unlike pirates, he has the demeanor of a general. If you want to talk about this, then Yabai is not sleepy anymore. One eye is not enough. I gritted my teeth and fought hard. Yes, you gritted your teeth and risked me. I really am yours, Shura. Looking at the prompt in front of him, Yabai was happy. Dirty Eyes is still alive. Good news add 1. Sleepy, talent is out of power, 886. Chuan Yan complained to Yabai a few words and then logged off again. In fact, for Yabai at this stage, Tanyan may only have a complaint function. For enemies weaker than Yabai, Yabai would not be able to use the Eye of Insight at all. For enemies stronger than Yabai, Yabai can't use him for anything except shaking people. He was infinitely close to being the most powerful, but when he looked around, no one was his opponent. You still have to look at it, you and him, but let it go. Obviously, Tanyan has countless grievances about Yabai's previous actions. Seeing that Yabai was okay, Wilhen continued to ask, "So, what did you see last?" The worst outcome is that the person becomes blind and fails to accomplish the task 1. Wouldn't Shura be blind in vain? Yabai told Wilhen everything he saw at the end of time. Wilhen nodded slightly and agreed. That makes sense. Yabai raised his eyebrows. "Second brother, what did you see before?" "Without." Although Wilhen wants to be strong, he is not trying to show off. He said plainly. I didn't expect that this would be the case. Yabai hadn't relaxed for long when he heard Wilhen continue to say. If that's the case, things will become troublesome. Seeing Yabai's confusion, Wilhen briefly explained. In this case, Xiao's consciousness and the origin of the upper world will be separated. According to Xiao's idea, the origin of the upper world will probably become a butterfly. In fact, this question somewhat involves Wilhen's knowledge blind spot. He is good at cutting people. I'm really not very good at making these twists and turns. Watching Wilhen usually play 6 pieces of backgammon at a time, you can see how exquisite and ingenious his chess skills are. Yabai also knew that if the second brother really knew something, he would probably tell it. If the second brother doesn't say anything and pretends to be an expert, he probably means that what he knows has already been said. See through, don't tell. Yabai was afraid that after he revealed the truth, he would not be able to go back today. Wilhen said casually. It's time to go back. Yabai, who was temporarily unable to see anything, did not notice anything strange. Following Wilhen's guidance, he returned to the river of time and returned to the state of being in jail. The swordsman in white behind Yabai still stands proudly on the river of time. Although he no longer has a sword in his hand, he is still strong. Until Yabai disappeared, a smile finally appeared on Wilhen's face. a sign of recognition for this interesting boy. If something unexpected happens to Wuhan, after Xiao Ao's battle with the most powerful demon, the future fate of the human race will be in the hands of the fourth generation of the most powerful Shura, and he can rest assured. Wuhan feels that the burden on his shoulders seems to have become lighter over the past 70 years. A piece of silver hair slowly fell from Wuhan's eyes. His hair is like snow. It's late at night, no updates, see you in the world. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 767. Yabai returned to the sword prison and cleared his throat. Sun Li, are you there? Sun Li on the side was a little surprised and looked at Yabai with a surprised look on his face. Only then did he realize that the other person's eyes were gray. What happened? Yabai used a very relaxed tone to talk about the matter of blinding himself. Sun Li rolled his eyes helplessly. Do you know that you almost lost it in the long river of time? He had been in the sword prison before, with nothing to do, looking at the abyss of the strongest. Suddenly, the strongest abyss changes again. The most powerful demon god who is ready to take action seems to be showing signs of taking action again. However, a slash of sword light made the most powerful demon give up this idea. Physical exorcism belongs to Yes. Yabai was sent to the end of time by Wuhan, which was also the moment when the most powerful demon was born. If Yabai stayed longer, the most powerful demon would definitely chase him across the river of time. The reason is simple. The most powerful demon will not miss any opportunity to kill the most powerful seed of the human race. Failure to kill Nightmare as soon as possible was the biggest mistake the mighty demon made in his life. When they arrived at Yebai's place, with Wuhan and Xiao Ao covering him, the most powerful demon had no chance to take action. Looking at Yabai, Sun Li opened his mouth, but said nothing. As a person who suffered disaster in the previous world, Sun Li knew very well how terrifying the most powerful demon god was. When the most powerful demon god is really ready to take action, it means that the overwhelming majority of wills have reached a consensus. In front of Xiao Ao, the strongest demon will shrink back, and the reason is very simple. First, Xiao Ao itself has great hidden dangers. In a fight with Xiao Ao, the strongest demon will definitely win, but the losses will also be heavy and unbearable. If you tolerate it temporarily and wait for Xiao Ao's own hidden dangers to break out, like now. For the most powerful demon god, this is the situation he most wants to see. Even if he takes 10,000 steps back, even if Xiao Ao solves his own hidden dangers, the most powerful demon will not lose. Anyway, they are fighting against Xiao Ao. It is definitely better to fight late than early. Secondly, Xiao Ao is the real strongest person in the human race. Nightmare, traceless, these 5 words have proven their worth. Yabai is different. Being alone at the end of time is like a chick leaving the protection of an eagle, and it is the best target for a hunter. Facing the most powerful demon god who decided to take action, I wanted to persuade him to retreat. The price Wuhan has to pay will probably not be small. These words were stuck in Sun Li's throat, but he still didn't say them out in the end. This unlucky kid is blind, so don't let him worry about it. Sun Li turned to ask, is there any help? Then how could I know? Yabai was very optimistic and said with a smile. I knew it, hey. At this point, you can still laugh. Sun Li seemed to see a bit of Xueju in Yabai. However, Xueju's optimism is different from Yebai's optimism. Xueju remains kind to the world. Yabai is, he feels that he can always get bugs, so it's not a big problem. In a sense, it can be regarded as reaching the same goal through different paths. Sun Li had no other choice but to change the topic again. You should break this sword prison as soon as possible. This can't be rushed. Not only did Yabai fail to break the sword prison, but he also began to create sword energy scrolls that didn't realize he was a guest in his dream. Sun Li feebly patted his forehead. This guy is going to start having bugs again. Sun Li finally understood. With Ye Bai's character, as long as he can't commit suicide, he will commit suicide. Ye Bai's ears twitched slightly, and he threw the scroll to Sun Li. Needless to say, Sun Li aimed his sword energy at Ye Bai and smashed him directly. This time, his bad luck may have come to an end, and Ye Bai went directly into a dream. Ye Bai only felt that he had been lightly slashed with a sword, as if he had entered a new world. "Brother, can't you see?" The child blinked and looked at Ye Bai and asked curiously. "My eyes are broken." Ye Bai. The eye of insight, which comes from the eternal source, is one of the fragments and is related to the most powerful demon. There seems to be no problem with children calling them their eyes. What's broken? Do you understand offline? The offline thing isn't bad. What Kong Yin? Ye Bai was too lazy to pay attention to Danji's eyes, turned to look at the child, and asked. "Can you take Big Brother back again?" "Back to where?" The child was a little wary and reminded him seriously. "Brother, you almost died last time. This harmless Big Brother is not aggressive at all. The child has a lot of kindness towards him, so naturally he doesn't want Ye Bai to die." Ye Bai. "Damn it, why didn't I know I almost died?" Ye Bai patted his chest and said after the disaster. "Fortunately, it was Tan Yan who died, not me. I was blind to choose you." Ye Bai and the child explained, "We don't need to go too long ago. We only need to go half a month ago and send me near the Eternal Tower. The Supreme Abyss itself is the zero level of the Eternal Tower." In a sense, Ye Bai was now in the Eternal Tower. His request is not difficult to fulfill. However, the child does not understand the meaning of this. In accordance with Ye Bai's request, he took Ye Bai through the long river of time again and came to 1 month ago based on reality. "Brother, we are outside the Eternal Tower, what next?" The child raised his head and asked the blind elder brother beside him. Ye Bai touched the child's head and said seriously, "Waiting for someone." They just stood there, waiting for who knows how long. The child next to Ye Bai suddenly hid behind him. Ye Bai knew that the person he was waiting for had come out. Xiaoao, who decided to take a walk in the human world, looked at the empty place in front of him, with a large one and a small one standing there. Although he could no longer see it, Ye Bai still judged the direction where Xiaoao came out based on the direction in which the child was hiding. He smiled and waved, "Third brother, good morning." Xiaoao thought for a moment and corrected him seriously. "It is noon now. Online games, only I can see hidden information." Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 768. Third brother, good afternoon. What Ye Bai didn't know was that Xiaoao was standing on the clouds and Ye Bai was standing on the ground. In other words, the two of them were talking through the air. The next moment, a white cloud gathered from the soles of Ye Bai's feet and lifted him up. Even the children beside Ye Bai were taken up together. The child subconsciously wanted to break free, but found that he was powerless. He is just the kindness of the most powerful demon god. Although he has the airs of the most powerful man, he is just a showman. If Ye Bai reaches level 1000, I am afraid that a child will not be able to defeat Ye Bai, which shows how weak he is. What's more, the child is now in the long river of time, and his strength is weakened by another level. Facing the real human race's strongest person, Xiaoao, it is indeed a bit unsatisfactory. Xiaoao glanced at Ye Bai and asked casually. "Hurt?" This is probably the most serious injury Ye Bai has suffered since his debut. Blindness is not a big deal. If the SSS level talent is permanently severely damaged, for Ye Bai, it doesn't seem to be weakened at all. Thinking about it this way, Ye Bai felt that things weren't that bad after all. Ye Bai waved his hand and said nonchalantly. "It's not a big deal. I feel like I've almost adapted to it." In fact, sometimes it's good not to be able to see. Xiaoyao thought for a while, shook his head seriously and corrected. Not good. Being invisible is definitely not a good thing. He counted on his fingers silently, then spoke after a moment. You can change your eyes. Ah, this. I think I can still save it. Ye Bai smiled and shook his head, rejecting Xiaoyao's proposal. Farewell, you are so mean and nice to talk to. The key is to be easy to bully. With a pair of eyes, Ye Bai was afraid that he wouldn't be able to win. It's better to be dangy, enough dandruff. Moreover, Ye Bai knew what Xiaoyao meant by changing to another pair. After Shura appeared in the world, the first unlucky demon god was the fourth demon god. At that time, Ye Bai didn't know the true value of the strongest human race, so he thought Xiaoyao was playing a big chess game to outwit the fourth demon god. Looking back now, Ye Bai apologizes for being immature. Xiaoyao didn't need to play a big game at all, and he didn't need any outsmarting to capture the fourth demon alive. The easiest way is to speak directly to the big devil, just like ordering food, just order a few names of the devil. If Xiaoyao really makes a trip to the abyss, it won't be as simple as killing a few demon gods. In fact, that's exactly what Xiaoyao did. The fourth demon god is still alive. This is something that few people know. If Ye Bai wants to change his eyes, the fourth demon god is the best choice. Moreover, with Xiaoyao's ability, it is not difficult to do this. After Ye Bai refused, Xiaoyao's expression did not change much. On the contrary, the child who had been following Ye Bai had a subtle change in his eyes. Big brother, are you so brave? He even dared to refuse Xiaoyao's proposal. The child asked himself, he did not have the courage. Xiaoyao continued. Go to the 95th floor and we can solve it. Ye Bai smiled and nodded in agreement. Then the relationship is good. It only takes a while to be blind, so it's not a big problem. Great. Danyan can be said to be a double happiness. You don't have to worry about being replaced, and you can also go to the 95th floor of your dreams. So spicy. The three people standing on the white cloud fell into silence. Xiaoyao added. If you don't treat it now, it will be better. What he meant was that it was best for Ye Bai to remain blind at this stage. Xiaoyao could indeed cure Ye Bai by force, even if it took a long time. But doing so would be harmful to Ye Bai and would affect his future potential and upper limit. If he looks twice more and less than twice, it won't have much impact. Ye Bai nodded, indicating that he understood. Even if Xiaoyao didn't explain, Ye Bai knew it. And in Xiaoyao's eyes, whether or not he can see it doesn't really seem to be a big deal. Ye Bai wanted to say something, but then remembered the child following him. He patted the child's head and ordered, plug your ears and don't eavesdrop. The child obediently raised his two index fingers and put them in his ears so as not to eavesdrop on the conversation between the two. He is not giving face to Ye Bai, but to giving face to Xiaoyao. Ye Bai hesitated for a moment and decided to tell Xiaoyao the truth in Xiaoyao's way. Third brother, the origin of the world in your dream may be the origin of the world in the upper world. Ye Bai believes that Xiaoyao must understand what he is talking about. Xiaoyao nodded and said a little strangely. I know. Ye Bai. Countless question marks appeared above his head, and he subconsciously asked. You know. Xiaoyao nodded again. I've always known it. Ye Bai. He and Wuhan tried their best to run to the moment the Eternal Tower was built. They tried their best to help Xiaoyao see what was going on, and then ran to give people reference answers. The results of it? Candidates have submitted their test papers and obtained full marks. He finally braved it alone, but what he got in return was this result. Faced with the dramatic ups and downs of life, Ye Bai felt like he was going dark. A prompt popped up in front of him. It's over, I'm really blind this time. Yeah, no, Yang Jian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 769. The blind Yabai was caught blind. I almost don't recognize the word blind anymore. He really didn't expect that Xiaoao actually knew the standard answer. Xiaoao has always disdainful of lying. Therefore, what the third brother said is most likely true. Yabai quickly realized another thing. Is there a possibility that Wilhan knows that Xiaoao knows about this, but Wilhan doesn't know what Xiaoao knows? You are here to play tongue twisters. He didn't go there to read the answers for Xiaoao, he went to read the answers for Wilhan. The second brother who wanted to be strong in his life could have asked Xiaoao directly. But he doesn't. How could the mighty human race ask a junior? As soon as Wilhan tries to be strong, Shura will suffer. Yabai was about to cry but had no tears. No wonder the second brother reminded him not to go blind. The subtext of Wilhan is very simple. It's just to satisfy your curiosity, don't work too hard, just go and check in. What's more, everyone knows what kind of nature Shura is. When he can't do his best, Shura will definitely not go all out. Who would have thought that Shura, who had cherished his life all his life, would suddenly be willing to risk his life? Due to this mistake, Yabai ended up like this. Soon, Yabai, who had regained his strength, felt that there was no big problem. No matter how big the injury is, it just needs to be cured. After the matters here were dealt with, Yabai dismantled the sword prison and ran to the 95th floor of the Eternal Tower, where the light would be restored. Thinking of this, Yabai, who was standing on the clouds, quickly asked, "Third brother, where are we going?" Xiaoao thought for a while and chose a direction. Nanjiang City. Walking on the streets of Nanjiang City, Yabai supported the child like a blind stick. He asked casually, "How does my third brother walk?" The child's 2 fingers were still stuck in his ears and he couldn't hear what Yabai said. Yabai, who didn't hear the reply, felt very surprised. "I am blind but not deaf, so why did I get no response?" Yabai touched the other person's head and finally figured out what was going on. In ancient times, there was a blind man who touched an elephant, but today there is a Shura who touches the most powerful demon. Yabai rolled his eyes, could this be the same thing? Yabai pulled away the hand that blocked the child's ears, told him that there was no need to block the ears, and asked the previous question again. "Oh, it's floating." Yabai. Yabai could only whisper to the child. "Can you talk to others through time?" The child answered cautiously. "I can say it, but I can only say a little bit, and it can't affect too much." Yabai thought for a while and asked the child to find a child on the roadside and tell the child that there was a Taoist flying here. After the child asked the question, Xiaoao changed to walking. As he asked, he corrected. "Until the city defense department is here." Yabai scratched his head, not expecting that things would turn out like this. He licked his face and said, "Third brother, how about we go to the city defense department to inspect the work?" Xiaoao didn't quite understand what inspection meant, but according to Yabai's suggestion, he followed him. Xiaoao nodded slightly and started walking. Until he was pulled into the car by people from the city defense department. In the interrogation room, after the people from the city defense department left, Yabai couldn't laugh or cry after watching the entire interrogation. Xiaoao sat on the chair, not knowing what he was thinking. Yabai thought, since the third brother wants to come to the human world, he should take him around. No need to go to jail. Yabai suggested. Yabai was cruel, and for the sake of second Master Ying and his own future safety, he simply killed the creditor. All he could hear was "You're not crazy" one after another. The patients nodded one after another, indicating that they were indeed not crazy. I saw that the fourth master was blind and had a child with him. The most important thing is that Yebai recognized the other party's identity from the voice. Seeing his third brother running water for treatment in the mental hospital, Yebai felt numb. The Taoist nodded again and left the city defense department with Shura. Then, after Miracle Dr. Wuhan, Miracle Dr. Xiaoao is officially launched. Uncle San, I'm probably really crazy. But when the madman spoke, Yebai really cried. Just when Yebai was thinking this, a new mental patient was sent to Xiaoao. Second Master Ying. It's better for such a guy with a novel brain circuit to stay around and not cause trouble everywhere. To be able to say something with such clear logic, it seems that this person is quite crazy. Yebai on the side said quickly. Yebai almost cried, there was finally a madman. Last time, Yebai sent Ying Er to collect foreign debts and almost killed the creditor. Third brother, you are definitely not mentally ill. Why did we bump into it here? Hurry up and arrange for a lunatic to practice with Xiaoao. As Yebai expected, not long after the two left, Master Ying made a brilliant appearance. Since I'm a lunatic and I'm in a mental hospital, I guess I need to see a doctor. After a lot of trouble, Xiaoao went through the discharge procedures for Ying Er and prepared to start raising money for Ying Er's medicine. Moreover, Ying Er is a strong person in the soul system and is very familiar with sealing memories. The patient is not crazy, Xiaoao is not crazy, and Yebai is going crazy. Madman. Otherwise, this doctor will be unable to do his job. Xiaoao said thoughtfully, then I am a doctor. This time, Xiaoao gave an accurate evaluation. Third brother, let's go out for a walk. I guess Zhao Qian and the others will come here soon. Among the shadows, only Ying Er has some free time. Xiaoao started to think. The second Master Ying, who was discharged from the hospital, looked sad and pointed at the empty place next to Xiaoao and said, after leaving the city defense department, I wandered around and came to the mental hospital. Ying Er Buletin has no choice. Xiaoao met an old mental patient and had a casual chat. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjiao Old Thief. Chapter 770. Since I brought Shura with me, I naturally lived at Shura's house. Second Master Ying looked at the small 2 rooms and 1 living room, thought carefully and came to the conclusion. Uncle San, is it too crowded for the 3 of us to live here? Xiaoao, Shura, Xiaozi, Ying Er Yi, Ying Er Niang, there are exactly 3 people in total. Yebai rolled his eyes subconsciously, but his eyes were always gray now. You sleep in the living room. For several days, Yebai followed Xiaoao and wandered around Nanjiang City. Xiaoao met many people, Xuemeng, Su Qingfeng, Xievenan. Until Xiaoao walked out of the library. He began to think that he felt that the world was boring. Maybe it was not the world that was boring, but himself? After thinking about this, a butterfly appeared in front of Xiaoao. Xiaoao knew it was time to go back. Since you are boring, no matter how you look at it in the human world, the result will be boring. As long as Xiaoao remains entangled with the origin of the world, he will become boring. So, if you want to be more interesting, you have to go back to the original question of Xiaoao. Is it Xiaoao Mendi, or is it Xiaoao Mendi? Xiaoao almost knows the answer. He looked at the empty space beside him and said, I'm back. Yebai nodded slightly, patted the child's head and said, it's time for us to go back. The third brother is going back to the Eternal Tower to solve the final hidden danger. And Yebai should rush back to the sword prison, get out as soon as possible, and see if there is anything he can do to help. Without any more words, Yebai was immersed in the long river of time, returned to real time, and escaped from the dream. Yebai returned to the sword prison. Even though he couldn't see anything, he still started to break the sword prison. He even found that his efficiency in breaking the sword prison became higher. Ye Bai fell into silence and came to a reasonable conclusion. Could it be that Tanyan is actually debuff? Sun Li on the side was also dumbfounded. You are not Shura. Why did the child suddenly become clever after becoming blind? Could it be that Shura's real talent is to sacrifice his eyes to gain stronger power? Sun Li was lying in the corner, his head was buzzing and he couldn't understand the situation in front of him. Ye Bai has long remembered the method of breaking the sword prison. Although he is blind, he cannot see anything. But Tanyan can deduce the changes in Jian Lao for Ye Bai. Moreover, his method of breaking the sword prison was inspired by his second brother, the fifth demon god, and Ye Bai's own ideas, mixed together, and finally found his own way. On this basis, Ye Bai became more and more efficient in cracking the sword prison, even dazzling Sun Li. Looking at blind Shure who was concentrating on breaking the sword prison, Sun Li truly felt for the first time the oppressive feeling of the fourth generation of the most powerful seeds of the human race. If Shure can maintain this high level of performance, Shure's generation probably doesn't have to worry. At this time, you need someone who is particularly good at win-win situations to help out. Xiaoao has always been like this. In fact, he couldn't tell the difference between Xiaoao and Butterfly. These 36 years have only made Xiaoao more determined in his thoughts. Xiaoao knew that between him and Dai, there was the source of the world in the upper world. A black butterfly, hovering in the air, looked at Xiaoao quietly. The most difficult choice for others, in Xiaoao's view, is not that difficult. The Taoist sat on the futon, extremely calm. If something is meant to be like this, then it is like this. From a human perspective, it seems that no matter what choice you make, it will be a lose-lose situation. The moment Xiaoao decided to awaken his talent, he had actually made a biased choice. Third brother, I am Shura. In other words, since 36 years ago, Xiaoao felt that there was more possibility that it was Xiaoao Mendi. If a butterfly is dreaming of freedom and freedom means death, then it is a dream of a butterfly waking up. Between Dai and Xiaoao, it doesn't matter who is real or fake at this moment. Xiaoao can make both true. The only difference is that if he identifies himself as a human race, he must give up his most powerful power. Butterfly looked at Xiaoao quietly, motionless. Ding dong. If Xiaoao recognizes that it is Xiaoao Mendi, and that the other party is the real source of the world, then all the power Xiaoao possesses will be transferred to the butterfly, and the false will become true. Butterfly doesn't know what Xiaoao is waiting for. Until then, Xiaoao is indeed Xiaoao, and it is just Xiaoao. Because he is strong enough. Standing outside the 99th floor of the Eternal Tower, Ye Bai raised his hand and pressed the doorbell he brought 3 times. 99 floors of the Eternal Tower. If Xiaoao believes that he is a butterfly, he, who possesses the most powerful power, will not choose to continue to protect the human race. According to Xiaoao's character, once you figure it out, do it. If it were not for the sake of survival, Xiaoao would not even awaken his talent and embark on the path of cultivation. Xiaoao doesn't care about many things. Others pursue power that they can't obtain in their lifetime. In Xiaoao's view, they can just throw it away. From the moment his consciousness came to this world, he had been thinking about whether it was Xiaoao Mendi or Diamond Xiaoao. Since everything is in vain, what's the harm in letting this void end? Outside the Eternal Tower, the doorbell rang. Until, I don't know how long has passed.